If you're ready to simplify data collection and make informed decisions, you're in the right place. Let's find out how Google Forms can be the catalyst to boosting your business. Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome to Teachers Tech. Google Forms can be a very powerful way to collect important data, whether it be from customers, your own employees, to make business decisions from this data. So today I'm going to show you how to create a Google form from scratch. When we go through this, I want to be able to show you how you can look at your responses. So we'll enter in some fake responses. And I also want to show you how it looks in Google Sheets so you can go a little bit further. And then I want to make sure that you understand how this is all organized inside your Google Drive. Let's get started on how to create a Google form today on Teachers Tech. To access Google Forms, you will need a Google account. Now, you can use a completely free account like I'm demoing today, or you could be using your work or school. So once you're logged in, if you go up to your app launcher, I want to point out that you'll see Google Forms as one of the apps. And if you are using it lots, you could move it around for quick access. You need to be logged in to do this. Now you can create the new form from here. The way I like to create it is to go to Drive first and get organized. So I'm in Google Drive. I'm going to go to my Drive here. You can see I have a few folders. This is where I was doing my demo Google Site one. If you want to learn about Google Sites, I'll put the link down below. But I'm going to go and create a new folder, and I'm just going to call this Forms and hit Create, because I like to create my forms having things organized. And if you have a business, you know what I mean. So if I go in here, if I right click on this, you'll notice I can go to Forms. I can click here and I can create a blank form, blank quiz, or from template. I'll talk about templates at the end after I show you the basics, but I'm going to be focusing on a blank form. So I'm going to click on this and you'll see that it opens up this blank form. At any time when you're working on your Google Forms, you can go back to Forms Home. So if I click on that top left-hand corner, it brings me back to here. This is the Forms Home where I can quickly create a blank one or access many of the different templates that are here, or access to my recent forms. Notice here, if I have the main menu, I can access all the different Google apps quickly from here, or even go back to Drive. So inside our form that we're working on right now, I'll be working on the questions first. But one thing to think about is your settings. So under your settings, I'm not going to be making this one a quiz today, but you can turn it on at this point. I'm going to come back to these settings after I'm done creating the forms to show you how we can manage them. There's also responses that I'll come back to after I put in some fake responses from the forms that we created. Let's go and start this form now. Let's dive in and give this form a name. So this is for my business, my fictional business, my Pooch House Spa booking that offers spa services for dogs. So I'm going to quickly give it a name. If I just click up top in Untitled Form, you'll see that name up here just goes back over here. The other thing I'm going to do right away is I'm going to upload and get a look. So we'll put an image header in, and I'm going to click on here, customize themes. So if I click on this, notice that we can choose some themes. Like we can choose our font. If I wanted a different font, you can see how quickly that changes, font size, and so on. You can even choose an image for your header. So there are themes that you can go through here. There's photos that you could use from your account, but I'm going to go upload. So I'm going to go browse, and I'm just going to choose one of these pictures that I have that I used on the Google site. So I'm going to click open. Now, when that comes up, you'll see that it has to fit within this. So I can adjust this to get the fit that I want. Maybe this isn't the best picture, but you know what? It's going to work. So once I get that lined up, I can go ahead and hit done. What happens when you upload a picture, you're going to see that it changes. The colors will adapt. So it took the colors from there, and notice down here in the color that it chose a couple of ones that would match with this picture. And I like when it does that, and I'm just going to leave it as that. I'm going to close out of the theme here. I can go back anytime and adjust any of this information. I just want to point out now where this is in my Google Drive. Notice I have it still open in this tab. If I just give it a quick refresh, you're going to see that it's organized inside of this place. Now, if I go back to this, I want to point out I can still move this form to a different one. So I could go move folder, and I could pick one of those folders that you saw before and move it. If I want quick access, I could hit star, and then it makes it really easy. So if I'm coming into my Google Drive, if I have lots of different Google Forms or other things, if I hit start, it's going to be right there. All right, let's go back to this and let's start adding some questions. Then we'll talk about settings too. Let's go ahead and add our first section about collecting information from the owner. And when I click in this untitled question here, you'll notice this is where I can start formatting. You'll see it defaults to multiple choice, but I want to collect the owner's name here. And as soon as I do that, notice that it changed to short answer. It knew what it needed to be, and I wanted it to be short answer. But I can adjust any of these by dropping down here, and you're going to see the different ways that you can collect the information. I'm going to be showing a number of these throughout this form that we're building today in this tutorial. So we have owner's name. Is this going to be a required? And I would imagine it is. So you can go ahead and click this, and this makes it required. They can't skip this at this point. The other thing I want to point out is you see these three little dots here, more options. You can have a response validation. If somebody's writing something in, you can make it, force it to be a certain thing. So if it was a number or text, you can force it to have those restrictions on it. I'm not going to have any of those. So if I click back on it, again, I can turn this off. So we have our first question in. Another thing that maybe I want to add in, and to add a new question, we can just click up here, and I'm going to say, well, I want an email address. And right away, it went to short answer. And that's what I want. Again, is this going to be required? Maybe you have an option on that to whether or not they have it, but I'm going to make it required. And lastly, I want to have their phone number. So I can go ahead and click it again, and we have phone number, and it adapts to what we want. So this first part is all about the owner of the dog's information. Now I could keep going as I collect the dog information all in one form, but what I like to do is add sections. And so when I click on here, this will add a section. And now what's going to be my next section? Well, this is going to be dog information. So if I just start with this, and let's see how this is looking right now. So to take a view of how this form is looking, if I go back up top, you'll see that we have preview. So under preview, you'll see these red stars here mean I have to answer this. So if I go through, you'll see owner name, my answer, email address, phone number. If I click next right now, it won't go through because these are required. So a little tip is maybe as you're previewing, you might not want to have those turned on. So if I click the little pencil there and go back, what I can do at any time is just turn them off and on. So this way, if they're all off like this, and I go back to preview and I take a look at this, now I can just see for myself as I go through to see what it looks like. So now I'm on a different section here. So dog the information, and I want to go back and edit it. I can click the edit this form and start. I'm going to hit leave, and I can keep adding more questions. Let's add some questions to the dog information. I want to point out with these more options here that you can duplicate a section, you can move the section, delete section, or merge it with above. So if I didn't want to have sections in just one long form, I could just merge this. But I do like breaking it into sections just I believe it looks better as they go through it and answer the questions. But now let's go and add another question. This is going to be the dog's name I want to collect. So what's your dog's name? So I have this come through, and I want to point out if I want to bold any of these, I can do this, italicize, underline. I can even link this so they can click on it and it will go somewhere else. I just have to put the link in right here. So this is going to be short answer. And let's say I want to add a picture that comes up with this question. So I could click and add an inline image, and I'm going to go ahead and go to my upload again from browse and go to that same folder. So I'll pick this one and hit open. It will upload it, and this will add it inside the image here. So you notice that when I click on I can size this if I did want it to be a different size like this. But now I have that information. I'm kind of curious what it looks like. I can go back to preview. I can hit next. And this is what it's looking like right here. So what's your dog's name? We have a picture, and then we have the answer that they'll submit. I can also go back. Notice that with my tabs across the top, I can just jump back this way to it. So let's add another question, but let's change how we're getting the type of questions, and we'll do a multiple choice this time. So I'm going to go and hit a question, and we'll have how old is your dog? So the options are going to be, so it's going to be a multiple choice. So I'm going to make sure it changes there. All you have to do is quickly just click in here, the options, and type in what you want. So in this one, I have a puppy, and indicating the age, I can click in the next one and put the next group that I want. I can go with another one, and I can have my senior dog that I'll put in here. Notice that whenever you hover over any of these are in the right order, but you can change the order by dragging and dropping them wherever you would like. And I could add another here, but I'll add that to another. So again, you can add to make this required if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and add one more multiple choice because I want to know how large the dog is. So I could add a question, what size is your dog? And I can go through and quickly do this the same way. Now I've updated these ones here, so I have another multiple choice. The other thing I want to point out with the next question, I want them to upload a picture of their dog. And you can have them upload different things as well. So if I click add question again, notice here if I drop down, we have a file upload. So if I click on file upload, it will walk you through this. So let respondents upload to files to Drive. It's going to make a folder in your Drive, and I'll show you where that is in a moment. But I'm going to hit continue. And then at this point, you can choose, do you want them to be able to upload anything or specific? So I'm just going to put a question here. Please upload a picture of your pooch. Allow only specific file types. I'm actually going to turn this on. And let's say I just want images in this one, but you can see the different ones. Maybe it's a PDF or a spreadsheet that they're uploading. Maximum number of files, I can choose different ones, but I'm just going to pick one. Maximum size, I can adjust this. I'm going to leave this at 10 megs because this is a picture. That should be fine for that one. And I can view the folder if I want. So if I click on this, it's going to open up my folder in Google Drives. I'll show you, I'll come back to that in a moment. And again, I'm going to not make this required because they don't have to upload this. So I'll just keep it there. And then if I go back and preview it again, you can see if I go through next, then I have this add file that when they click on, they can browse. And if I go back to my Google Drive folder over here, I want to point out if I'm in my forms folder, this is what they just created here. So this, and then when a picture gets uploaded, it's going to be living right inside here so I can see all the different images. So now that we have the dog information, I want to know what services they want. Let's break it into a new section by adding a section here, and we'll just call this services. And you can go back, like I mentioned before, and you can update things. If things change, you can quickly title these different. So I have a new section. I'm going to click on a new question here, and this question is going to be, what services am I interested in? So I could, probably the best option here is going to be checkboxes, and it automatically gave me checkboxes because they could choose multiple services. So just like with the multiple choice, I can go through and start adding my services. So let's say maybe there's the pampered pedicured or paws pedicured or the luxurious bubble bath, and I'm going to go through and fill this out with a few. So now at this point, when they get to this question, they could select multiple ones. But maybe I want to show a before and after video in between this or before this. So if I go ahead, I can insert add video. In this case, I already know the link that I want, but I could go ahead and do a search, but I'm going to put this link in right here. So let's say this was for pretend, one of ours, I could add it in. Now I could go and give it some information before and after. But maybe I choose to have this first. I can simply drag this up as the first part, and maybe they watch the video and then choose something after that. Another type of question I could add is this one here. So I'm going to say that would they like to book a spa package? But this time I don't want it to be a multiple choice. I actually just want it to be a drop down. So this works similar to a multiple choice. So maybe I want it to be something like basic bliss. So I'll go ahead and fill out a few of these, and then we'll take a look at how it looks in our preview. All right, so I have these 4 different things that they can pick from. Let's take a look here under the preview. As I go forward, our form's coming along nice. We have some pictures. We have some selection of multiple choice, add a file. We have a YouTube video in here. We have our selection of our different options. And we also have this drop down here that they could pick what they want as a spa package. I went through and added a bit more information, more multiple choice, more short answers, and I forgot to add a section. And I want to be able to be sure that they can pick a date and time. So I'm going to add a new section here, and I'm just going to call this section scheduling. So right in here, I'll call this scheduling. I'm going to add this type of question this time. And notice as soon as I put in my question here about preferred date and time for appointment, it changes over here to date. And I'm going to go, and so down here, it's going to allow me with a picker, or whoever gets to this, to pick a date. And I'll demo this in a moment. But I also want to add one more question. Maybe they have a specific time as well. So if I click on this, rather than it being multiple choice, I can now choose time. So there's 2 different ones. If you want to know how this looks, this is how it looks right here when they're choosing. So they can go through, and when they get to this section of scheduling, they would pick in here. If they just click on the calendar, they can pick a certain day, and they go at this point, add a time. And all this information is going to be collected. And I am going to show you how this looks and how you can go through this different data. Before I jump into the settings, I want to quickly move this section. I'm just going to click on these options here and go to Move Section. All I have to do to move it now, grab the handle. I just want it to be above the feedback and referrals here, so I'm going to put it right after here and hit Save, and it will make those changes. Now, I want to go over to responses first, and yeah, of course we don't have any, but I do want to point out this is going to be linked to a Google Sheets that I'll show you in a moment. But if I click here, these more options, this will give, if you choose this, if I click it, notice that there's a check mark next to it. So this means that every time there's a new response, you're going to get an email to this. So if you do want to get an email every time there's a new response, you can go ahead and check that on. If I toggle it again, notice that it will be off. Let's take a look at these settings. As I mentioned in the beginning, I could have turned this into a quiz just by toggling on this, and you see all the different responses here. For this tutorial, I'm not going to be focused on making a quiz, but for these responses, I just want to point out some of these options here. Do we want to collect the email address? Well, we're already asking for them to put their email address in, but if we did say verified, we would change it, and it would force people to collect that information. I'm going to leave this as this. Do we want to send responders a copy of the response? Do we want to allow editing? And we have many of these different options. Here's the file upload that we have. The one thing I want to point out here is a few more options here. I want to turn the progress bar on, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. I don't need to shuffle the question orders. Maybe if this is a quiz, I would turn this on if a bunch of students were doing this together. After submission, is there a confirmation message? If I click on edit, I can go ahead and put a confirmation message in here. View the results, so share the results with the respondents. You can turn this on if you want them to see the results, and disable autosave for all respondents. So you have these different options in your settings. They're just simply click or not click that you can turn on. If you want all the questions to be required by default, I can just go ahead and select it rather doing one at a time like I showed you. So that was just a little bit about the settings. I wanted to point out the progress bar that I turned on. So here it is at the bottom here. So if I go to next, each time it progresses through, it lets people know how far in the form they are. I like having that feature. But how do we share this form now? I'm going to go back to the form, and now there's a couple different ways people think about this, and you got to make sure you do this the right way. If you want to share this with somebody to collaborate with, then they are going to have the ability to alter the questions or add new ones. And that's different than sending this form out. So if I click up here under the more, notice that we can add our collaborators. What this does is I can add people here that will be able to access this form, see the results of the form, the responses, and even make changes. So if that's what you want, this is where you would add them here. But if you want to share this form out to people to start completing it, there's different ways. So if I click on send up here, and notice this is from the settings up here, do not collect. That's what I had set in my settings. I can send via email. So I could just enter in the email addresses here with the subject, and they're going to get an email with this form to fill out in their email. I tend to use this way lots. I can copy this link, but a lot of times I'll shorten it, and then I could just go ahead and hit copy and send that in an email or share it out to people. It could be on a website or in a group message. So I find that's an easy way to share this out, because as soon as they click on this link, it's going to give them access to it. So here's an example. I'm just going to bring over a web page here, and if I paste that link in here, I can have access, and I'm not logged in to that account. This is under a different account, so it would give quick access. The other way is this is embedding. I can't embed this form because I actually have the upload feature, so you can't go through that way. But I can also push it out through Facebook and Twitter at this point. So this is how you share it out for people to complete the form. You can put this right into Google Sites as well. So again, if you want to learn more about Google Sites, take a look at the video I have on that. I'm going to go ahead now and enter a bunch of fake responses. Then we can take a look at the data to show how you can analyze it. I went through and entered 5 responses. You can see right now there's 5. If I click on it, I can quickly view the different information. If you're wondering how I did that, all I did was go to preview, and this is how I like to test out my forms, is I just go through and complete it, because then I can enter them more information, and I can get to see if anything's missing. Then I can go back and change it. So you can enter some fake information from this point. Now, let's look at the responses. So when I look at this, I can quickly see the names, the emails, the phone numbers. Now it gives me some information, and this is important stuff. So you get to see maybe how old the dogs are that you're working with. I can see 40% here. Granted, I only have 5 different responses. What is the size here? It shows me the picture. So any of these that I click on, I can have a quick preview of the dog. What services am I interested in? So I get to see what services are the most popular ones. Again, this can help you make business choices. What spa package would you like to book? So all this information becomes really important, and it's really easy to view. I can see the times that they've asked for on these dates and everything. Now, I do want to point out, if I go back to the very top here, this is all linked to a Google Sheets. Remember what I said before? If you want to get notified when these new ones come, you can print it. You can just make sure this is checked. You can download the responses. You can print all the responses, or you can delete all the responses from this point as well. But if I click link to Sheets here, this is going to open up a brand new Google Sheets here, and I could select an existing spreadsheet, but I don't have one. I'm going to go ahead and click create. So this creates a sheet that is linked. So now you can see all the information in Google Sheets, and you can manipulate it from here. It's nice to have things in a spreadsheet, as you can apply more things. You could add different graphing and search the information differently. If you want to learn more about Google Sheets, I do have different tutorials that I'll link up in the description and up above in the card. Now, at any time, as you get more information entered, you're going to see more responses come up in here, and it's automatically going to update on this sheet. If I go back, I just want to point out with it, I can unlink this. So if you didn't want that Google Sheet linked to here anymore, you can click unlinked, and then you can go ahead and create a brand new one after that. So these are just different ways you can view your responses. Remember at the very beginning, I mentioned about templates, and this can save you a lot of time. If I go ahead and click up on the Forms home, like I showed you before, or I could go to Google Drive and start from template, I want to point out these, the template gallery. I'm just going to expand this here. Now, they have different information ones that you can just start from these that will save you a lot of time. So whether it be contact information, RSVP, you can see different ways. Maybe it's event feedback, an order form, job application, all these different ones. Now, with the knowledge that I gave you, you should be able to open these up, create the template, and then just modify it as you need, and everything else will work the same. So I hope you take all this information and you can apply it to your business to start collecting data and then using that data to make the right decisions for your business. Let me know what else you're interested in learning, whether it be Google or Microsoft, other tech products. Thanks for watching this time on Teachers Tech. I'll see you next week with more tech tips and tutorials.